Welcome to 3R's Sports, the 905 edition. Maybe we're going to be like the TBS. You remember when TBS was always like the '05 edition of the shows? Like join us at 6:05, baseball at 7:05. Hey, maybe we're just a little special. I want to make welcome my friend Robbie Davis is in the house.
Glad to be here.
Hey, who's that guy?
Hey, I think after he missed for his wedding anniversary, we never have to worry about Robbie missing again.
That's right.
I think he was just too. You kind of felt like something was going on and you wasn't there.
Yeah, and each anniversary is always questionable, so you never know until it gets to the day of.
Yeah, it shouldn't fall on Tuesday anymore. And then make welcome from the West Coast. He's not Tupac, but he is our version, maybe slightly less cool. Raj Mehta in the parade. What's up, Raj?
Man, Tupac, a lot less cool than that dude. But
I was going to say you're the Indian Tupac, but I didn't think it came out right.
Hey, I'll take that. Thug life.
Thug life. All right, guys, we got a jam-packed 90 minutes, so let's get through it. We've got more than we normally do to get through. A couple of breaking stories up front we want to talk about just a little bit. Let's first go to – I sent you a commentary from Stephen A. Smith that basically said recently we saw Kyrie hit with some popcorn, Russell Westbrook with some water. I'm going to have this backwards. I've been in situations where I've seen players from the stands be physically slapped at, hit at. What are your feelings about it? And I'll just give you my quick synopsis. It's all fair, it's all fair as long as it's verbal. Once you cross the line to get a physical with a player, you're kind of opening yourself up to this huge pro athlete or college athlete just tearing you up. Robbie, what's the legal ramification of coming in contact with an athlete on a playing field?
Well, so they part of this, like in sports, when you consent to play, you consent to contact within the realm of the game. Anytime, I mean, to put it simple, it's assault, it's a battery, depending on your state laws, but it is definitely a crime for a fan to throw something, to any unwanted touching. So, there's the high fives and all that, the pat on the back's okay. Once you get to a throwing popcorn, throwing water, throwing a water bottle, that's an assault. An assault and or battery. An assault doesn't have to result in bodily harm. It can be an unwanted touching. And so there's a famous case where a guy went and kissed some stranger. He thought it was his wife and went and kissed her on the cheek from behind. And it's an assault. It's a battery. It's an unwanted touching. And so that's what you're dealing with in the NBA or in sports. But the NBA's got there's a potential volcano ready to erupt. Yes, if they don't get this under control, the whole sports we're going to be talking about another Ron Artest, and instead of talking about the playoffs and what this has. But let me be clear, and I don't know exactly what Stephen A. said, but these people need to, if you throw something and hit a player, they need to be arrested and prosecuted. And if it takes an quote-unquote unreasonable jail time to send a message, then that's what needs to be happening. The NBA needs to get full behind this, and do not let the players, say, it's going to move on. Hey, if there's court dates, you on the NBA's dime, you fly them out there to the court date, and you make them be the victims that they are, and you do not let it go. Because what happens, I'm guessing, is if they do get charged, well, the victim has to be there to say that it was an unwanted touching as part of one of the elements that the prosecutor has to has to prove. Well, during the off season, these guys, I assume they want to enjoy the lives they've made for themselves and not wait in a courtroom all day long over getting hit with a water bottle. But they need to, because then somebody needs to go to jail to prove a point that it's unacceptable.
So Stephen A., they were both arrested on the spot. Stephen A. was completely behind that.
Mm-hmm.
And Stephen A. also brought out a point, Raj, and I'll ask you this. I am a notorious crap talker to the opposing fans. I sat in a very low seat in the end zone at the University of Tennessee. One of my favorite things to do in the whole world is to heckle punters that are backed up to the very back line. I do it pretty rough. My go-to, especially if it's a kid like from Louisville, I'll sit there and go, I'll read the program. I'll get his mom's name. I'll get his dad's name. And I'll find out who else recruited him. And my biggest thing is, I know you really wanted to go to Miami to Florida, but they didn't have for you. So you're here now on national TV, and you're about to choke this punt. All fun games to me, and that's what a home field's about. But I would never cross a line, even verbally, to say anything that would be offensive. Talking, one thing, but where does it cross the line for you?
I mean, college football, when you have kids around and, we're grown men and there's kids in the stands, as long as you don't swear and say anything disrespectful to someone or someone's family, I mean, that's part of the game. In the NBA, all of it crosses the line for me. If you notice, it's 90+%, I don't have the statistic, is white fan on black athlete. I read an article that was in the Undefeated as to whether or not, many fans view, the African-American basketball player as human or just as a player. I remember seeing something back in the day about asking a guy, like, who's your favorite player? Like Spike Lee had interviewed someone and, well, Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson for a white American. But he didn't like black people, but he said they aren't really black. They're basketball players. In Utah, John Morant's dad someone said to him, "I'll put a nickel in your back and watch you dance, boy." I mean, what does it matter if it's a water bottle or not? I mean, I think there's a greater issue at hand, and I think it's awful. And I mean, it doesn't matter race. If someone to throw something at a white player, it's still disrespectful. But Trae Young is kind of a bit of a different scenario because he goated New York City fans, and they were just kind of getting on to him. I don't know what they said. But when you're throwing things, and like Robbie said, that's assault, And again, how often is this anything other than, white fan on black athlete?
So going back to the Ron Artest example, the NBA is maybe the most wide open and have the ability to get at fans, to get at players, and players at fans. And in that situation, there were some ugly things said. Robbie, do you open yourself up and have some liability if you cross the line with your words with a professional athlete?
So, I mean, there's always lines to cross. There's certain words, certain things you just don't say, regardless of you paid for your ticket. Same way you can't yell fire in a movie theater because it's not protected speech. Anything that is likely to lead to imminent violence is not protected speech. And you get into the private company being able to limit speech, but you're still there in front of police officers. What the NBA is one game away, one play away from either some crazy starting a GoFundMe to buy courtside seats or some crazy rich person getting courtside seats and, starting to trip people or jump out and hurt a player. There's security in the stadium and the arenas, but they have the quickest access to the playing field. And it hasn't happened yet because generally, the rich people, the people that can afford those seats, have a lot to lose civilly if they were to do that. And a
Right.
lawsuit would be sued, and they would be taken to the cleaners. But you get somebody who has nothing to lose, starts to GoFundMe and something like that, and then a judgment against them is worthless. And so the NBA just needs to get it under control. And also, it's if you're going to start pulling tickets, the person that threw the water bottle, start interviewing the fans around him. What did you see? When did you see it? If they saw something and aren't reporting it, then yank their tickets. Take their tickets for 5 games. Get this under control.
There is nothing that would hurt me more as a fan to take my tickets, Robbie, and I agree with that 100%. Raj, I worked for World Championship Wrestling for a few years as a security guard. And back then we had very limited barriers up. It was almost invisible, just like it is at the NBA. It is almost an invisible barrier between the court and the fans. And we used to say, when the person gets the nerve to cross that invisible barrier, they're now forced to react. Is that the same thing? Once the guy gets onto the court, he's forced to do something stupid just by getting himself out there?
He's probably forced or inadvertently forced by the 38 killer lights he had up in the seats. Yeah, I mean, it is the easiest. There's the least amount of security. You have 10 aisles on one side, 10 aisles on the other, columns, whatever, aisles. That that would be columns, sorry.
Rows and sections.
I want the one that goes vertical. I mean, just at the Staples Center where I've been many times, I mean, there's like literally 25 chances where anybody could run down, let alone 2 at once, and you can hop through somebody on the floor. Yeah, I mean, everyone's trying to get their spotlight, whether alcohol-induced or not. But I think Robbie's exactly right. Like, it's not like football where a dude's running for 100 yards and dudes are in pads and whatnot, and usually guys are just like trying to score from the 20, the 10, the 5.
Right.
I mean, basketball, everyone is right there. In many cities, like in Utah, it's, literally like 20,000. A lot of players had said they felt like it's sort of them against the world, opposing teams, in Boston as well. It just creates a very antagonistic atmosphere, and you got dudes that are going to do whatever they can for their teammates, like Artest did. Obviously he regrets that, and he's been through therapy and all that stuff. But, some dude throws a beer at me. Who knows what it is? Who knows if it's security is not the tightest thing in the world. He doesn't know it's a beer or a water bottle. It could be an anvil for all they know. Regardless, it's inexcusable. And like you said, the consequences are not nearly enough. This idiot from Boston will probably spend a night in jail and get some kind of BS misdemeanor, which he's probably already had, and get banned from the Celtics games. I'm sure if he wanted to figure out a way in, he could figure it out.
Oh,
yeah,
but
absolutely.
It's really like there aren't many consequences, which is unfortunate.
Well, do you guys know? I don't know the answer to this. Did they? The guy who got banned from the Celtics games, is he banned from all NBA games or just the Celtics?
I think
it was Celtics.
Yeah,
because it's not very far from Boston to go up to a Knicks game or a Brooklyn Nets game. Like, the leagues have to do more. They can't rely on the teams to police themselves. And I think if we may be to the time where if I go get my season tickets, then I'm consenting to them running a quick, just crazy check on me and be like, have you been arrested in relation to any other inside the stadium sporting event?
Yeah, I'm all for it.
And,
of course,
and just
that might get me banned, but I'm for it.
Yeah. Well, it's okay to be arrested for other things and even other violent acts, but do you know how to handle yourself in a sporting event?
All right.
Because there's enough people that legitimately would like and pay to go see these events.
Right. And and in the 3 years I did this, Robbie, with the WCW, we never prosecuted anybody, but we took multiple guns off of people, multiple knives off of people.
Yeah, that's
crazy
just
things
fine.
like batteries, like big D batteries, would be brought to hurl at them. We had a lady with a whole pocket full of boiled eggs that she was chunking at the performers. I mean, just crazy crap.
It's the side note. It always amazes me how they get the damn catfish into the hockey games.
That one does get me. The octopus too.
Octopus in Detroit started it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, anybody got a last word on this, or are we pretty good?
I think we're good. I just, like I said, I think there's a bigger issue at hand here. Garnett kind of came out and said Irving stomped on the lucky Celtics sign, and as if to imply that, some of it was a bit deserved, or he was, contributory in what happened to him. I don't buy it. I think there's a bigger issue here, and regardless, that's just entirely unacceptable.
If Terrell Owens stands on the star in Dallas, it's up to the Dallas players to take care of that, not me as a fan in the stadium.
Well, yes, I totally. And social media is it's at the root cause of so much in the world, but it's at the root cause of this getting worse and worse. People are all of a sudden tough guys because you can say stuff on Twitter or Facebook and there's no ramifications, and it's just, oh, look at me, I'm just an attention, you know what, and then it's just spreading through all society, and sports are not immune to that.
Did that dude videotape his own throw is one question. Number two, Kareem and Bill Russell and Wilt would talk about racial epithets and being called the N-word 60 years ago. These guys today say the same thing still happens. It's frightening, if you ask me. I mean, does it mean increased security? I have no idea. But yeah, as to your social media claim, I think that dude videotaped it, or his buddy next to him. I'm like, let's videotape a crime spree. That's from The Simpsons. But how stupid can you be? Obviously, pretty stupid.
Yeah, it's all premeditated. It's not in the heat of the moment. It's, hey, watch this. Whenever somebody comes to the tunnel, videotape me. I'm going to be throwing it.
Watch me, bro.
Allegedly, of course. Allegedly, we don't want to defame or slander anyone. It's just our opinions.
Clearly. So, guys, let's move on. I think this was a great topic, and all of a sudden I just verified we're on the air by blasting it out. But something, again, I will say the last word for me as a fan. I'm 54 years old. I've been going to sporting events. I went to my first Falcons game in 1976. I went to my first Tennessee game in 1977. I've been going to the Braves game since the 80s. Talk, cheer, make all the noise you want. But common sense tells you when not to cross that line. And if you think you shouldn't cross it, you probably shouldn't. So,
and just a PSA, look around you. Whenever you're sporting, look around. Do you have little kids around you? If you do, then come up with creative ways to say the same thing that isn't offensive to. And parents have to go. Don't make the parent's job any more difficult by just because you want to swear.
And I do take my 11-year-old daughter, and the last thing I can stand is somebody to be dropping the F-bomb next to her, because it's not necessary.
No.
So moving on a little bit, and this is going in the other direction. The Braves in the offseason signed what everybody considered a great offseason signing. Marcell Ozuna to a 4-year, $64 million deal. A lot of people had been aware of some minor incidents between his wife and him in the past. The Braves locked him down to this long-term contract. And this week we had a major incident in front of the police where he's been arrested for assault and strangling his wife. The fact it's in front of the police, and both of y'all have law degrees, seems a lot worse than if it was he said, she said. Robbie, start there, and then Roger will get your feelings.
Yeah, so I'll do. So I've got quite a bit on this. So my first thoughts were Ray Rice in the NFL. He's done. He's done for. And then I thought, how much I don't know the specifics if the police have it on body cam, if there is video,
Yeah, it's alleged.
and how much. And so how much that's going to hurt him also. The legal part of it is now, because the police are witnesses, she no longer, let's say she realized, and by no means would I ever tell a victim to do this, because people need to be held accountable. But, a lot of these situations are, and I'm not saying I wouldn't do the same thing if it was personally me, but you have this situation where a prosecutor has to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. If it is inside of a home and it is just a man and a female, and these same facts are alleged, the victim can then say that did not happen, or what I said that night I was making up, and the prosecutor has no choice but to drop that case, and thus it helps them out financially, because the police are witnesses to the actual act. Alleged act. Thank you.
Alleged witnesses as well. I mean, I've read differing things, and when I read the dynamics of what happened, were they just standing there with their body cams while he's like choking her out, like, "Hey, what's up, cops?" Yeah. Well, I don't know, dude.
It's good to have legal help while on the air. So yes, alleged events, alleged act. But if they are witnesses to this alleged incident, well, she can say it didn't happen. I want to drop it. Well, the police can say, no, we saw this happen, and it was based on what her reaction was, her saying stop, her saying no. It was not a consensual touch act. It was indeed an assault, and you can get to the beyond a reasonable doubt in the court of law based on those alleged events. So the fact that there's witnesses who are the police, who are independent and you wouldn't think there to be any bribery or, hey, there's all kinds of reasons for witnesses to be quiet.
And Rob, real quick, because they witnessed it, it's not an issue. I never studied much of criminal law aside from in school. If they didn't witness it, it would be up to her to press charges, more or less. But because the police witnessed it, it's a done deal, or allegedly witnessed it, it's a done deal, correct? If they did witness it, and especially if there's any video proof, he is done.
Well, yeah, she would have to get on the stand and say, we were, roughhousing. This is how we weren't, this is what we were doing. I was totally fine with it. Well, then it's like, why were you screaming? Why was the door open? All these alleged facts. And it would make it very tough for him to get out of this scot-free, even if she said, I don't want to move forward.
Quickly, and I agree. You use the Ray Rice example, but it's becoming in sports more and more accountable when your public life begins to affect the field, on-field life. What's the chances, guys, that Marcel Osuna is never in a Braves uniform again, if convicted?
100%, if convicted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Rob again can speak more on this, but my wife is a contract attorney for healthcare, and we kind of discussed this. And the Braves didn't really have any provisions. You would think they would have something. Now, there's basically something called a material breach if his conduct may, basically be unbecoming for Major League Baseball. But the uniform player contract basically states, like, from the union, that unless it's collectively bargained, you can't necessarily just say, hey, this dude can't get paid. Because as of right now, I've read conflicting things, to be honest. I've read that there is a chance where he could lose his contract, but, it's front loaded and all the money's guaranteed. There may be a suspension of payment while things are going through, but it would be unprecedented. Am I not? I don't remember with Ray Rice. I think he was a free agent, and that made it much easier to cut ties, I believe.
I believe you are correct.
But with him, it's going to be a different ballgame, and it's going to be pretty groundbreaking.
Yeah, I would and again, obviously we don't have the contract. We do know that the MLB has the strongest union in sports.
Absolutely.
And the NFL has the weakest union in sports. And so what they did to Ray Rice won't be done in Major League Baseball. And also, I'm looking, if I'm his criminal defense attorney, we're dragging this thing out. I'm getting half of it. I'm dragging it out 2 years. Like, we're getting half of this money. There will be motions filed. There will be preliminary hearings. There'll be continuances because of his work, employment. I'm sure she'll drag it out as far as, I've got scheduling conflicts, so we're gonna have to get continuances. No, I'm getting paid if I'm his contract, because I would be shocked. A conviction is one thing to maybe breach a contract, but charges and allegations that are unproven, I would be, because that has such ramifications for the players union, all the players in Major League Baseball. The players union will not stand by and let that happen. You can be charged with anything, and they can try to breach a contract. So yeah, he's getting at least half this, if not all of it.
So with him being injured and out for several months, did the Braves try to push some kind of resolution or some kind of? I mean, I don't know that you can get there in 90 days, especially in the scenario you described, Rob.
Oh God, no. You're talking, you got appeals, you got exhausted remedies. I mean, now that I think about it, no, if there's not a conduct clause in his contract, which I'm doubt there would, he can drag this out for 4 years, especially with the court backlog. It's gonna, you got all these low profile. I mean, I texted a friend of mine who's a big Braves fan. I said, what's your take on this? And his quick response was, he screwed the Braves. They're screwed.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just saying that at this point, the trade deadline is coming up. The Braves have a decision. They actually have 3 decisions. One could be, considering Soroka is probably their best pitcher, is probably down. I don't know. If you ask their manager, it depends on the day, which he says if he's able to come back or not. Things aren't just really lining up for them thus far. Number 2 would be to trade, and they have one of the best farm systems in baseball, especially when it comes to arms. Number 3 is start with a low risk, dude that could get lightning in a bottle. A guy like Yasiel Puig, who in LA, like, we loved him for the most part. Vin Scully called him the wild horse. Cespedes is still out there. There are other guys that they can go after that, you just never know. And I'd consider those 2 dudes just because, like I said, Brian Reynolds from Pittsburgh may be available, but like, hey, Brian Reynolds, he's awesome. Like, I don't know what he can do, but you get Puig or Cespedes out there and hitting, just on fire, and you never know what could happen. So,
best case scenario, this comes to a head. He's back in a Braves uniform in 2022. Worst case scenario, he never plays a game and then MLB again. Fair enough?
Oh, I don't know how.
And spends time in jail.
Unless the reporting is incorrect. I know 65 million is a lot of money, but that's a PR nightmare for the Braves if you bring him back.
Absolutely.
I mean, It's just not worth it. It's not. It's not my money, but I'll spend it.
The charges as is, real quick, is, I'm sorry, Randall. Charges as is, real quick. Aggravated assault, strangulation, and misdemeanor battery, family violence, which I think is very specific and maybe a Georgia thing. But it's a minimum 1 year with a maximum of 20 based on those 2 sentences. Just heads up.
What I read in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution made this seem like one step up from the normal battery, and I don't know why that did, but it was very, very, very to the point that if found guilty of what he's charged with, that he would face prison time, basically. So,
well, the strangulation, because by definition you're cutting off someone's airflow. it's kind of you can't get to what the intent was. Like you don't know if you're trying to kill them or if you're
a nice massage.
Yeah, like so it's hard to get into the intent of somebody's mind, and so
right.
That's the very specific charge that will likely, if convicted, end up in prison time.
I joke, but real quick, Rob's absolutely right. It's not something that's premeditated. You don't plan. Well, some people do, but generally there'll be some sort of string or chain or weaponry or something when things are premeditated. It's often in the heat of the moment. It would just mean lesser charge. But when it comes to domestic violence, it's no holds barred, or all bets are off. Rather, that's what I was looking for.
Well, guys, this is a tragedy among itself, and we hope for the Braves that it does.
And we hope that the alleged victim is okay, and
absolutely that's what is more important.
That is that they get their, regardless if the police are having to enter your house for domestic phone calls, hopefully they can repair what, if anything, was wrong.
I think they filed for divorce, but when she's got a knife, he smashes her supposedly in the face with his cast. By the way, not very smart on 10,000 levels, and then strangulation. Yeesh. But again, it just depends on. Ray Rice was on video. No one can deny it. And not only that, I mean, it was an egregious video, and he was made an example of, and rightfully so. We really don't know, like you said, what the witness accounts are, because Osuna is going to have a hell of an attorney for sure. So if there is no body cam, or it's his word versus the cops, and then she gets on his side, he will not face any time in jail, in my opinion.
If he is watching, I am licensed in Georgia. I will travel down to Atlanta. Just saying.
You are a good attorney. He may need it.
Well, I went for a ride there, but as a father of a daughter and a Braves fan, I can't say that my first gut reaction was, I hope I never see Marcell Ozuna in another Braves uniform. But I understand it's legally got to play out.
Innocent until proven guilty.
Yep. Now, we're about to spin 180 degrees here, from the very serious to the very sublime. Last week in a group text, we were talking about basically the greatest NBA team that we could put together. We come up with a little challenge here tonight, and we're going to do a little mock draft. Robbie, Raj, and myself are going to draw for a 3-position draft. We're going to go through the list of the greatest NBA players of all time. We're going to judge these teams at the end of them, and we're each going to make a case why our team is the best.
If this is anything like fantasy football, like you just want to hand the trophy to me between you two, or what?
I'll finish second.
Are we snaking this thing?
Yes, we're going to snake it.
Gotta snake it.
Got to snake it, and I have pieces of paper in my hand right now. What we described, I don't have it with me, but basically we'll each make a small presentation to why we think we have the best team. Now we're just going 5 deep. We're also going to adjust for era. Obviously, one of Rogers' big points are, how can you judge Bob Cousy by Allen Iverson? Well, Bob Cousy may be better than Allen Iverson. You do your best to how dominant the player was in their era, how athletic the player would have been. Like, I think Bob Cousy could play in the NBA today. Pistol Pete would be a point guard in the NBA today.
Oh, yeah.
So we're assuming that the science is today's science. So
it's relative.
Yeah. For instance, like Magic Johnson would be essentially LeBron James with the science to work out.
Bad example when it comes to science, dude.
But
yeah,
training.
Okay, that's stuff cool.
The first pick in this year's draft is going to go to Robbie Davis.
All right.
The second pick will go to Raj Mehta. And I will have the third pick, and be fourth. So I get back-to-back, last of the first of the second. You have to fill each position. You have to announce. If it's a player like Duncan, you have to say, of course, Duncan is a 4. If it's and when you're done, you have to have a point guard. And if you have
so we can't play positionless basketball.
No, you have to have a team that you could start. A point guard, a shooting guard, a small forward, a power forward, and a center. Now,
just FYI, though, a lot of guys have played a lot of positions, so just keep that in mind.
I am totally acceptable if you draft Magic Johnson. You can play him at probably 3 or 4 different positions.
Why you blowing up my spot, bro?
He jumped center in Game 6 of the finals.
I am totally fine with you could play Charles Barkley at small forward or power forward. So, Robbie,
center.
No, you're not playing a 6'3" guy at center. I'm drawing the line.
He's 6'6".
I've stood next to him. I'm 6'4". He's about an inch shorter than me. The boy is 6'3".
I think he's gotten shorter.
Who are we talking
and grown the other way. Barkley.
Yeah, Barkley.
Oh yeah.
6'3".
Robbie,
small forward. That's 6'3".
And a little explanation to why you're taking the guy. Robbie Davis, you are first.
Oh, so I've got to be the one between the LeBron and Jordan argument, huh?
Yes. Is there an argument? Because for me to be clear, very easy, and I will say I would pick Michael Jordan in this position.
Yeah. So I'm going LeBron at small.
You don't have to say where he is yet, because that guy can play 3-4 positions.
I'd like for you
center,
to declare.
in my opinion.
I'd like for you to declare as you draft him where he's at.
But he can change it, right?
He could change it if necessary.
Can I move? Right now I'm getting him at small forward. I mean, the guy's been to 11 finals.
Yeah,
won 4 of them.
I don't think you could go wrong.
These may be unpopular opinions, but people think that, no pun intended, it's a slam dunk that Jordan goes first. I disagree, dude. No one's been as productive as LeBron James is, especially now at 38 or whatever. He's still possibly the MVP, the most dominant player in the league. That being said, for my pick, I'm going Michael Jordan. So, yeah, I'll go Michael Jordan.
And you took Michael Jordan, why? Because he's Michael Jordan?
Yeah. Because
I took LeBron James.
Exactly. Fair enough. Yes.
So the second pick is the easiest one of the day. You just pick the other one that didn't go on.
I think the third pick is just as easy as the first two, and I will make my case because if we're talking about numbers and careers, I will take with my third pick. To me, the GOAT of centers, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah, you got to do that.
That's a great pick.
And with my fourth pick, and being the third Laker in 4 picks,
you son of a bitch,
I will take at point guard from Michigan State.
Damn it,
Magic Johnson.
Oh, I was hoping I was going to get to pair Magic and LeBron together and just have a freak show team.
There was only one other player I considered there, and when he comes up, we'll talk about it.
A lot of Lakers in that in this top 10.
Yeah.
I know Michael Jordan can play 2 different positions. So can Kobe Bryant, and that's my pick.
Oh, God.
The only other pick that I considered was having a backcourt of Michael Jordan or Magic Johnson and Kobe Bryant. I did for a second think about that dream.
I wanted Magic pretty badly, dude. Guy plays all 5 positions, 5 rings, 3 MVPs, 9 first-team All-NBA. When you go to Kareem, most points all time, an indefensible shot that he more or less perfected, 6 rings, and a 19-time All-Star.
Absolutely. and technically could play the 4 or the 5. I'm just laying that out.
Swing right, shoot left. That's what Chick said every time. Robbie,
2 back-to-back, buddy.
Hell, we could almost just do a Lakers draft.
Yeah,
5 of 6 have been Lakers.
All right, y'all are gonna make me do it, but I will pair the most freakishly wing player with the most freakishly dominant center and take Shaq.
6 or 5 of 6.
Yeah, and then
this is where it starts to me, right here. Those 6 were pretty obvious.
I'm going with the big fundamental, Tim Duncan.
Nice.
And I think I have 2 of the 3 most fundamentally sound basketball players to ever play.
Nice.
I know who you like, Randall. I love that guy as well. I'm not going to take him because you mentioned him earlier, but the only guy, plus that was my graduate school, to ever average a triple-double, like with ease in the 61-62 season. However, I am going to take Wilt Chamberlain, who averaged, I think, 50.4 points in 1 year and 22, almost 23 rebounds. So obviously a different era, but we're talking about it's all relative. So far, just for the record, I have Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and Wilt Chamberlain. Do you know how much? I won't say that, but you know how? Although if you're up in the club, I think my team would definitely be the most popular. Sorry, inexcusable.
Well, I'm going to make a move with Magic Johnson over to the 2 guard, and I'm going to slide into point guard from Cincinnati, the Big O, Oscar Robertson. And I guess he's the oldest player we've picked so far. And this one's for my dad. This pick is for my dad. My dad was not a sports guy, never was a sports guy. There was one sports team my dad absolutely loved. And it's the only team that I ever heard my dad scream and yell at the TV about. And at 4, from Indiana State, I will take Larry Bird. So I have Kareem, Larry Bird, Magic, and Oscar Robertson.
One thing about Bird people forget is he was 6'9". He averaged almost 25 points, I think 24 points for his career and like 10 rebounds. I think the younger generation now sees a white guy in black Converse. I mean, as somebody who watched him play a lot against my team, that dude was legit, man. I mean, he got his shot off wherever he wanted to. He made it. You could still theoretically drive in French Lick, Indiana, which I've actually been to. And supposedly he still mows his own lawn. Amazing player who really doesn't get his just due just because he looks kind of goofy, but kind of looks like Rob a little bit, but hell of a player. Sorry, Rob.
He can shoot like me too.
Yeah. And I think he gives you the flexibility of playing either the 3 or 4. So coming into my next pick, now I've got some flexibility there because truly he was the 3 on that team with Parrish, McKay.
Wait. Oh, sorry. You took 2, though. You took Big O and Bird, so it's my turn.
Yes, it's Rob's turn.
Okay.
Yeah. I was just saying I have some flexibility with my 5.
I got you. Dude, I'm torn between a guy that won a lot of championships and a guy that was nearly indefensible. I'm going to go with Bill Russell at my 4. He's shorter than Wilt. 11 championships. I think the most impressive stat about Bill Russell, he was 10-0 in Game 7s. I know the Celtics really dominated that era. Bill Russell, Wilt, Big O. I mean, they were untouchables then. And I'll put him at the 4 and keep Wilt at the 5.
My dad, as I said, the only team he ever rooted for was the Celtics. Said Bill Russell was the best basketball player he ever seen. And my dad had played a lot of ball back in the 60s. He was like, I don't care. And he quit watching basketball after the Celtics kind of run. He would say, I don't care. You can throw whoever you want out there, 7'1". I'll take 6'8", 6'9", Bill Russell. Make them look bad all day. So,
Heck yeah.
I'm
He was,
agreed.
and it's a by no means great comparison, but it kind of like the modern, like Dennis Rodman would irritate people. Like he would just get people out of their game and play his game. Not the biggest player, smart, knew how to play the game. I'm not picking him though. I'm going to close out this with two former teammates, and I'm going to get me some shooters, and I'm going to take Durant and Steph.
Ooh.
So I'll move LeBron to the 2, Durant to the 3, and then Steph at point guard.
Nice. So,
That's me.
Who are you going to leave me with here for my 3/4?
Well, yes, Raj is up there. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm debating between going with a guy that would just murder everyone or just getting the straight up pure point. And this guy's a Laker, so I got to take him. Jerry West shot almost 48% for his career. When he retired, he was top 5 in the NBA in points per game, assists. He was a 12-time All-NBA guy and a 5-time first-team All-Defense. So Jerry West is my pure point, the logo. And I got the other logo. I could put Kobe or Jordan at the 3. I put Kobe at the 2 because he can handle the ball so well, better than Jordan in my opinion. So Jerry West, Kobe Bryant, Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell at the 4, and at the 3 would be Michael Jordan.
Did you pass on Isaiah Thomas because you got to keep your team chemistry together?
I did. AI as well. I love AI, but I need somebody to get the ball to those dudes, not shoot first and then think about someone else.
So I don't think I can. I really want to pick Hakeem Olajuwon.
I was close on him.
But he's a true center. I don't know if I can push sliding him over to the 4. So I want a true 4. And probably the most controversial pick of the night. At 4, I will take Kevin Garnett at my 4.
That's not controversial in my opinion. He's up there as well. I mean, but Garnett plays more like a 4, but isn't he 6'11" and Hakeem was what, 7 feet?
Yeah, but I mean,
I agree. He's more of a. I agree. There's a difference in terms of agility, in terms of playing the position, et cetera, et cetera. By the way, Kevin Garnett just turned 45, May 19th, 1976. I know that because my birthday was a week prior. Big difference between the two of us, but yeah, it's kind of crazy. Dude came out in high school when he was 18, and now he's 45.
Did you give Dirk any consideration at that spot?
I did. I also gave Charles Barkley consideration.
Yeah.
My problem with Barkley is he never won a title anywhere. That makes it hard for me to say you're elite. I gave Barkley consideration. I gave Dirk consideration. Let me throw another name that I don't think most people would have thrown on the list. And it kind of started us here. I would have loved to say Julius Erving. He was a freak before freaks were existing. How would that guy look if he had had this generation's nutrition and this generation's weight room? I mean, he was a man among boys in 1971. David Robinson didn't go.
And Moses Malone, by the way, and a big guy for me is Elgin Baylor.
Elgin
Baylor was back in the day, 10-time All-NBA first team, 11-time All-Star, averaged 27.4 points and 13.5 rebounds for his career.
Is the point guard position so good that this generation's best point guard, Dwayne Wade, or two guard cannot even make the list now.
I mean, what about Stockton? Talk about a pure point, even though he's a dirty player, but like, you know, it's that's one role that certainly has evolved. I wouldn't say evolved, but it certainly changed and adapted to the game more than any other role.
Well, you know, back in 60s, 70s, 80s, even early 90s, you had your primary ball handler, and you know that was the person in charge of getting the ball off the court. So now you have people like Durant. I mean, or the Greek Freak. He can get the rebound, dribble it straight. Like there's no need. It's just it's positionless basketball. Like I would have loved to have seen Hakeem play in this era where, let's stretch the defense out. You know, he was a shooter. He had all the moves. Like it was just been interesting to see if instead of just posting up, what all he could have done.
Correct. And this year, the number one player in America is a kid out of Minnesota that's a 7-foot center whose high school coach said he could play point guard on their team if he wanted to.
Yeah.
Hey, Evan Mobley, you know I'm biased out of USC. He was probably their second best ball handler. He brought the ball up the floor. He'd slow it up. He had a good vision on the court. I mean, for a guy that, especially in high school, could have scored at will, he shoots a three. It's just a different era. And as Rob said, it's positionless. It's crazy. Like, a lot of these kids are late developers. You know, they played point at 5'9", 5'10", and suddenly they grow a foot thanks to, you know, power lines, and now they can do it all. It's literally insane.
Like, take Steph Curry or Trae Young, Donovan Mitchell. Like, they're small guys, and like typically you'd be like, oh, you're not big enough to play in the NBA. Well, what do? Well, we can just shoot it from half court. And so it's just like, well, yeah, you got to guard us more. That opens other people up, and you have to double. Like, if you can set a pick and roll or a pick at the logo and you don't come on top of that pick because they can pop a three on you, then you're just in trouble. Like, anyone can play in the NBA. I mean, not anyone can play, but obviously, like, there's no more than measurables. Like, you need to be, you know, 6'2", 6'3", or above. It's what's your skill set?
You know, and the strange thing about it, doing this exercise, I've always considered there's some franchises that are just royalty in a sport. I think of the Yankees. I think of the Patriots. I've always said, well, it's the Celtics and Lakers. But when you really break it down, the Lakers are the dominant team of the NBA over the last 70 years. I mean, going back even to Minneapolis, they are the franchise that was the gold standard. Don't you both agree?
Oh, yeah. The Lakers, I mean, the Celtics have had two runs at it. Like, they had the Russell run and then the Bird run. And then you had the Garnett, the one-off, that in the Pierce and Ray Allen, that team. But the Lakers, I mean, as long as minus the Jim Buss years, they've always been there, and they just keep reloading, and they can do it through the draft with Kobe Bryant. They can do it with free agency, because who doesn't want to live in Southern California? You're a young, rich athlete. There's no brighter lights. There's no better place to live than Southern California.
Having all three of us lived in Southern Cal at some point, I think it was when I moved to Southern Cal, I was 32 at the time. And moving to Southern Cal in my early 30s, it was truly eye-opening. What life, I don't think unless you live there, you can truly understand how different life can be. And I've been to New York and places, but nothing is like Southern California.
Well, and you have, Ross can talk, he's from there, but I mean, you have Golden State up in Oakland, now San Fran, and then all down south, it's the Lakers and then the dysfunctional Clippers. Like, it's just, it's a Laker town. Like, there's the Dodgers, there's the Angels, and it's a Dodger town, but nothing's like the Lakers when they're rolling.
It is Sacramento Kings too. The Kings have their own, 4 teams. I know they are an No, obviously I have strong opinions on this. I don't want to diminish what the Celtics did, but there's a reason why. I mean, I think free agency, among other things, was very different then, that they won 11 or 10 titles in a row. And,
Right.
Field of Dreams was on earlier, and James Earl Jones, as Terrence Mann talks about baseball being like the one constant throughout the history of America. More or less, it's been there despite the world rolling or steamrolling on, but something that affects. And the Lakers have continually evolved and adapted. I mean, to go from Shaq, Kobe, to making the toughest decision ever, which was the right decision. Thank you to Memphis, who helped them get the Gasol trade, and they traded Mark Gasol for Powell and something else. But then he wins again with another guy. And then last year, LeBron and entirely different, a group of players, AD. But yeah, those things aren't possible if they're the Indiana Pacers. I mean, it's a fact that people want to go and play there. Taxes are high. Property taxes suck. They have state income tax, which sucks too. But, it is the preeminent franchise, in my opinion. And I am biased, but I don't think many people would disagree with me outside of Boston.
Well, sorry. Well, side note, do you guys find it interesting that Chicago has such a difficult time getting free agencies? I mean, I know this is more of our age group and not these NBA players, but everyone grew up with idolizing Jordan and being Bulls fans, and nobody wants to go there. I mean, it's this big city. Winter sucks, but summer's great there. But they just don't get any high-profile free agents.
Well, I think it's your generation, Robbie. For me, I'm from a slightly older generation. The Bulls were on.
LeBron's my age. Actually, I'm older than LeBron. I'm older than LeBron by 6 months.
I know, but I guess the Bulls pre-Jordan were not very good.
No.
The Bulls post-Jordan has not been very good. I've seen both sides of that. And to me, the Bulls are not a top-tier franchise. They're a top 5 franchise probably, but they're not in that conversation with the Celtics. And almost at this point, I think it's L.A., Boston, and San Antonio. I think San Antonio may be moving into that conversation.
Actually, you make a good point. For the size of city that Chicago is and all the sports teams they have, they really do all suck as a collective group.
As a cluster.
Yeah. They are notorious losers.
Yeah.
But that being said, with the Bulls, their management took a hit from their own players. And nobody wants to follow Michael Jordan in Chicago. I mean, they're a victim of their own circumstance. I think that's a big deal. They have the money. Chicago is a cool town, save for 4 months out of the year. But
half of Chicago is a cool town. You go over there where the Red Sox play. Not so cool.
Hey, Southside, dude, those are Raider fans in different hats.
Yeah.
I think those are fun places. That's a fun place to watch a baseball game. Except those are real fans, though. But no, I mean, it's. I think there's a lot of reasons why, but it should be more successful, is Rob's point, and I entirely agree with that. At least the Chicago Bulls.
So to sum up this segment, now I'm gonna present something. And I'm looking at my team, and I'm going to tell you I'm not going to be able to run with your teams. But I am the best half-court basketball team in the history of basketball.
Tell me your team again.
I've got Jabbar at center, Kevin Garnett at power forward. I have Larry Bird at small forward. I have Magic and Oscar Robertson. I don't have world-beating speed, but if I can get you in a half-court game, I don't think you can beat me.
I mean, being very honest, I think my team's the best, but everyone probably does. And then I look at your team, and I'm like, that's balance galore. You have one of the best centers of all time, if not the best. You got a 6'11" dude who is freakish. It depends on the rules, I guess, that we're playing. In the 80s, Garnett would have been put on his ass. In the area that he played, it's a little different. You've got one of the best, if not the best shooter, at least non-guard shooter ever. And then you have 2 guards that basically are walking triple doubles that could play multiple positions. I wouldn't sell yourself short. I think Rob's team is worse, personally.
What? Well, so this would be my pushback on you, Randall. You've got two players that are the same person, Oscar and Magic.
I do.
They can do different things, though.
They can, and then you got Bird as your one shooter. I guess Kareem's your second shooter.
No, Oscar Robinson's my second shooter.
He can shoot.
Oscar Robinson is lighting it up. Oscar Robinson and Steph Curry, but I do have some pushback on my own team. Once I put it on paper, I thought, I'm not. Here's my problem. Bird, Garnett, and Kareem are not athletic enough to keep up with Jordan and James in that game. They're just not. That's the reason I'm a half-court team.
So my worry on my team would be, all right, so nobody can stop. So I got Durant just can't be stopped. He's much too big of a freak.
Depends on the rules.
But Jordan or Bryant could probably guard Steph, which worries me.
Easily.
And then, but I got Duncan and Shaq still, and LeBron.
That's a good team, dude. No doubt.
I have defensive players of the year. I will say that.
It's going to come down to different eras. It's super hard to measure. I have the greatest center of one generation, Wilt Chamberlain, the greatest center of another generation, Bill Russell, the greatest player likely of all time, Michael Jordan, the greatest shooting guard in the last 20 years, Kobe Bryant, and then the logo, Jerry West. So, if you
also have two players that are exactly the same, Kobe and Jordan.
I think they can do different things personally. I think Kobe's much better handling the basketball and had different vision and whatnot. They're both all first team defense. Actually, I have 5 guys that have all been all first team defense.
Yeah, you have the best defense by far.
And then I have Michael Jordan.
Did you ever think Kobe could play the point guard and been an elite point guard?
Well, he brought the ball up 90% of the time. Derek Fisher was one thing, but the ball got into his hands early in the shot clock at the top of the key. Yes, he could do whatever he wanted to, in my opinion. Just extremely versatile. I'll give you this, that he and Jordan, I think, were the same height. Jordan was, 6'6"?
Yes.
Kobe, I forgot, was probably about the same. Yeah, he was, ironically enough. But these are guys that can do different things. Yeah. They're all great teams. The bottom line is they're all full of Lakers. So the rest of the NBA can suck it. Just kidding.
The problem with having your scorer be the point guard is that's the easiest one to double.
I got Jerry West, bro. Jerry West is my point guard.
Well, you can double in. The point guard, my point is the point guard's the easiest one to double and get the ball out of their hands the earliest and take some time and not open up shooters at that point. If you're doubling post players or if you're collapsing when, say, LeBron or KD get to the lane, you're in trouble. It's too late. You're beat.
He's a dude that averaged, again, top 5 in Jerry West points, number 1 in logo, points per game, assists, and I think at the time he was the number 1 free throws made individual in NBA history at the time. He could do a lot more than just beat Jerry.
He more finals than LeBron.
It was his fault. The Celtics were ridiculous at that time, but yes, he won 1 out of 11, I believe. But again, during the same era as Bill Russell, a different era. The Celtics were a super team for a decade.
We need to get, as soon as I can get a daggum PS5, I can get NBA and we can simulate these games.
Let's do that and report it back on here.
Or put a poll on whatever website we use.
You think with all this GameStop money that I could get a PS5.
You got to sell though first.
Not financial advice.
All right, guys. Well, this was a lot of fun. We should do that stimulation and report it out. I really
I'd
enjoyed
say
it.
we should do it and comment on it live like we did the draft.
Absolutely.
Nothing like three guys watching a computer play video games talking about it.
I think that's like 90% of the kids born over the last 20 years.
Yeah.
But we have to move on. I'm happy with my team. I'm 6'9". Everywhere I'm 6'9". I figured that out.
Oh my god, this is just like Randall on draft day. I'm happy with my team. I'll see you at the semifinals, and I'll report back the same next year.
I'll see you in the semifinals where I lose.
Randall, quick advice, and I do the same thing: is you draft way too much with your heart and not your head, and that's what'll beef you over. And I usually like the worst picks I make are when I draft with my heart.
I limited myself to not drafting Tennessee players like that's a punishment.
That's always a good thing.
All right, guys. Well, we got to move on here. Let's get to the next segment that we have going. And the next segment we're going to discuss, let me pull my notes up so we can make sure that we have the right segment. I believe we're going to talk about futures and future bets in college football. So we ran DraftKings this week released their favorites for each conference. Basically, we went through it, and about 3 of the conferences were struggling with coming up with anybody other than the clear favorite. But quickly, we're going to go through the 5 conferences and see if we can find us a long shot, or is it chalk all the way across the board. I think I got a couple of them, but I'm struggling with the ACC, the Pac-12, and the Big Ten. So let's start out west with your favorite conference and your home there, Trojan boy. The Pac-12, where we come into the season with Oregon and Washington as co-favorites, plus 275. Is there anyone else that can win that conference?
Absolutely. SC probably has the most talent of all the teams, but they have Clay Helton, which automatically means they will not win the Pac-12. He is a boob of the highest regard, and I don't mean that in anatomically speaking. He is just the worst. The team that I would watch out for is Arizona State. They're loaded. They return a ton of guys, like 17 or so. And I think UCLA returns 19 on both sides, but Chip Kelly, that window is closed. Arizona State, Utah, I think will both probably finish ahead of USC. I'm not a Washington believer personally. Another quarterback change. The Ducks, they got rid of it's kind of funny. They just showed the door to last year's dude, Tyler Shouten, or however you pronounce his name, or I forgot, because he obviously wasn't that good. It's Oregon or Arizona State, in my opinion. And I'm real tempted to go Arizona State just based on how much talent they are bringing back. And again, their experience, perhaps I'm thinking with my heart, you got Herm, Antonio Pierce, a bunch of transfers, just a solid coaching staff as well. So I'd probably, watch out for Arizona State, in my opinion.
Robbie, do you see anybody out there? Well, let me ask you a question, Rod, before we get off of it. At 1,200 to plus 1,200, is UCLA worth a little sprinkle on that money line, or is it the window closed?
It's tough because they returned 19 guys, but a few of the guys that they missed were both NFL guys, and Demetric Felton, who was their all-purpose running back, receiver, kick returner, and then their best defensive lineman, Osa, who I can never pronounce his last name. They have Carlton Lake's kid at safety. They're just super experienced. I just, under Chip Kelly, I don't think you can trust that team. But yeah, they return more starters than I believe anyone else in America.
Robbie, you were anti-UCLA. What do you got out west?
Well, so if you're looking at the plus 1,200 line, give me Utah at plus 1,200 over UCLA all day, every day. better coached, better fans, home field advantage. UCLA, while Chip Kelly was revolutionary when he was at Oregon, everyone's doing it. Everyone's caught up. He's still doing the same thing. Probably at least one of the worst fan bases for football in a great stadium. Every reason to go to the game, absent the beach weather and all the other stuff you can be doing. But Rose Bowl, I went there for Tennessee UCLA game.
Yeah.
There was probably 20,000 people in the place. So no home field advantage. I would not roll the dice on Chip Kelly at 1,200. I would go Utah all day, every day if I'm going to use those odds. With those odds, though, I wouldn't mind putting some money on Utah. I agree. I think Arizona State's the one that's probably in that top 4 line. Arizona State's probably the best bang for your buck. The Pac-12 is the only Power 5 where the favorites plus money. So it's the most wide open conference. They have the wacky start times. They have the most travel distances. There's a lot that the favorite can get caught up. So I would not take Oregon at plus 275. I would not take Washington at plus 275. For the reasons Raj mentioned, I would not, capital N-O-T, take USC at plus 400. So that leaves me at Arizona State for plus 450 if I'm going to gamble on this one.
Real quick on Utah, Charlie Brewer, the Baylor transfer. They got a transferred running back from LSU and one from Oklahoma. Devin Lloyd, the linebacker, All-American linebacker, decided to stay. There's a kid named Ethan Calvert, his brother Bo Calvert. I think he played at Michigan. He actually chose Utah over USC, and that's shocking. Usually Utah will take the 2 or 3 star kid and coach him up, and that just speaks on their staff. Their staff is phenomenal. Whittingham is amazing. They get the best and most out of their players, whereas other teams, Arizona State, USC, often get the least.
It's an uncomfortable environment for the West Coast coastal kids to play in.
That place sucks.
Cold, altitude. It's not pleasant.
Yeah. Utah, Arizona State for me.
So when I moved out west, my family out in that area are huge UCLA fans. I've been to a couple of Tennessee UCLA games. Fell in love with UCLA, but it's the only place I've ever been to that I've had people just walk up to the tailgate and say, here is 4 40-yard tickets, 10 rows up, and just hand them to me. So UCLA is a different environment, and I agree with you there.
There's a lot of reasons, though, why. A lot of reasons. Aside from being in LA, USC, et cetera, et cetera.
It's horrible. I mean, there's so much going on. The reason, and I don't mean
it's
this.
Off campus.
Yeah.
100 miles away. It sucks to get to. It sucks to park. Sucks to get out. It's just a vapid, like huge, massive stadium. I've been in there many times when there's been 100,000 USC, UCLA, and that was awesome. But you can count those times basically on your one hand in the last 10 years.
I think Utah is the team that always strikes me as different. They really don't fit. They are different. They feel more like a Big 12 school where it's just rowdy. And I really like Utah there. But I'm kind of with y'all, Arizona State. That'd be where my money goes. So let's move over a little bit to Big 12, where Oklahoma is the favorite at negative 134. But it's the best coach in the Big 12 at Iowa State. Matt Campbell, the best of the Big 12. So that's where my first heart went was Matt Campbell's dude. He's been there. If I'm not betting Oklahoma, I'm probably going to Iowa State. And there's a ton of talent at Texas. How fast can Stark turn them around? Robbie, we'll start with you there.
Texas at plus 400. That's just brand recognition, and that's just someone besides Oklahoma. I do think Sark will get them rolling. I think he did until his personal life got the best of him at USC. I think he did a pretty good job there. I think he did a good job at Washington. He did a great job at Alabama calling plays. The Saban rehab school got him arguably a top 5 job in the country as far as college goes.
I think clearly a top 5 job. I think Texas is a different animal.
Yeah, and then so is this the year for Mike Gundy? Is it ever going to be the year for Mike Gundy? It doesn't appear to be so. He should donate part of his back to Tennessee because we get him more raises than his on the field coaching does. But yeah, I think here if we're ruling out the favorites, the heavy favorites, Iowa State's a play. I think Matt Campbell's he's a great coach, and hey, if you can recruit to Ames, Iowa, you are doing something right. Because good Lord, why would anyone want to go there?
Well, it's not that we're ruling out Oklahoma. I mean, obviously they're the pick, but there's holes in that Oklahoma team, in my opinion. That's the reason they've been in the transfer for any school in the top 10. They've got 3 players from Tennessee, 1 from Minnesota. I mean, Oklahoma has been wearing the transfer portal out. It could be.
Yeah, if you're picking up players from Tennessee, you definitely have some holes.
Yeah,
that's on top. But those are like the 3 best players by far. ESPN rated them all as like 3 top 10 transfers. Iowa State plays at Oklahoma. I agree. Iowa State returns a ton. I'm not a huge Brock Purdy fan. Their quarterback. I mean, Oklahoma's got some serious talent and speed. Iowa State any other year would be my pick, but even though Rattler seems kind of like a punk, that team is loaded. And getting Wanya Morris, Gray, I mean, that Wanya I think was the biggest defection. That dude is a monster. SEC, born and bred, and he's going to crush in the Big 12.
So someday you'll say, oh, my God, you remember when Key Lawrence left Tennessee and went to Oklahoma? He's that kind of defensive back. He just got
okay. Yeah, I knew that too.
And I'm telling you, every year it seems like you ought to put money on them. West Virginia is plus 2,000 every year, and somehow ends up in the top 3 or 4 of the conference every year. They have a great coach, but how do you win in Morgantown, much less Ames, Iowa?
Hey, I've partied in Morgantown. I like
I've been there
it
too.
Yeah,
so West Virginia is all the people from the Northeast that aren't smart enough to get into like Duke, Carolina, Wake Forest, or any of the Ivy Leagues. They go down to West Virginia, and they have a bunch of money, and they just party a lot. So I wouldn't go there for sports, but as a fellow partier, I didn't mind it.
So actually, it's called the University of New Jersey, New York South.
Yeah.
It is cheaper for you to go from New Jersey and not go to Rutgers, which is a state college, to go out of state in Morgantown. It's ridiculous. Like half the campus are from New Jersey, New York. It's a great campus. It's not a destination place for a football player, though, in my head.
Oh, no.
I'm one of the few people that has visited West Virginia multiple times and on purpose. Growing up, I had family there. It was very unique. When I did go to Charleston, yeah, I mean, it's a good stadium. Everyone's right on the top of the field, even more so than kind of like Kansas State, but more secure. But yet, I mean, the fans really make a difference there, and they are lunatics.
Great
they beat Pitt. Great tailgating. They beat Pitt. They burn couches, which don't burn things, folks, and little kids. But there's a lot to West Virginia that people love. If you guys remember Major Harris, I know Randall does. You remember that like 90-91 team? They were just synonymous with wide open offense, and the navy and yellow is a cool combo. I mean, I think anybody can agree with that.
You don't.
So
I think it was in 2008 or 9. Steve Slayton, Pat White was ranked number 2 in the country.
Yeah.
Going to the championship game. loses in a fall bowl at South Florida, and that team was as good as anybody in the country that year.
They didn't
Let's
want to be
try.
there. They did not want to be there. But yeah, that team was loaded.
All right. All right, round up the Big 12. Let's arguably the conference that seems to me is you have one team. There's two conferences that you see you have. In my head, you have a team that's a lap ahead of the whole field. But in the Big 10, it's negative 167 for Penn State, 700. 167 for All-State, 700 for Penn State. Wisconsin 800 plus 800. Michigan plus 1100. Iowa plus 1200. Indiana plus. Is Ohio State that conference now?
Yes, they are. Well, for whatever reason, Harbaugh hasn't done it at Michigan, and for everything that Franklin, I do think James Franklin's a good coach, and I just don't talk about being in the middle of nowhere. State College, Pennsylvania is in the middle of nowhere. It's hard to get to. You can't fly anywhere and get there in a day. Like, it's just brutal. And
by the way, a prop.
what's that?
You have to fly out a prop plane in the State College. It's not a jet.
Yeah. And so, yeah, Ohio State's it's the powerhouse. They just are. Ohio produces talent, great branding, great everything, facilities. They're lapping the field right now. Not as much as I'm sure we'll talk about Clemson later, how much they're lapping the field. But so if I've ruled out the favorites in each of these conferences for my pick. If I'm putting $100 down, I'm betting plus 1,800 on Indiana, and hoping for an Ohio, not hoping for an injury, but hoping for a break on Ohio State, and I catch them, or they get a couple of bad breaks, and I get them in a championship game and can take them down.
I agree entirely. Michael Penix is coming back. Jack Tuttle, the kid from Notre Dame, is the backup. Looks like Randall took off. Obviously, I'm biased. Stephen Carr, a 5-star running back that went to USC that really didn't want to mix it up, but kind of never really got off the ground. He just transferred to Indiana. They lost their best receiver. They returned 6 offensive linemen, but they also lose 6 defensive linemen. They have linebackers and I believe secondary guys coming back, but Indiana is the team that I would definitely lay it down. And I was going to look at the schedule. I don't know if and when they catch Ohio State. I'm checking now. But yeah, that's the team to me that, like, there's a lot of talent and speed. Even though they lost Philly Orr, their best receiver, that is a team that you've got to watch out for. They're well coached, to say the least.
How did we beat Indiana in the bowl game a couple of years ago? That's the great question of Indiana football.
True. I think we just got luck. That onside kick recovery. That was. They were winning the whole game, controlling it, and then it's just one of those things that, onside kick, fooled them. And yeah, they have Ohio State at home. Indiana does, and then that plus 1,800 looks good.
Real good.
Indiana is the one team that is well coached.
Yeah.
And a guy that wants to stay at Indiana for a long time.
Hey, and don't forget about Okie State. Even though Mike Gundy, I'm a man. I'm 40. You talk to me, I'm a man. But, they returned Spencer Sanders. They've always seemingly had like just a grip of receivers. They'll get downfield. Not all of them have done well in the NFL. But I'm pretty sure they returned some experience there. So that's a team. I'm not sure what you guys are showing at their odds, but that's a team that anytime you step into that stadium and T. Boone Pickens, get ready for a 50-49 game. And if you're not ready for it, they'll beat you.
Yeah, they're back in the Big 12, so they're plus 1,000.
Oh, did we move on to the Big Ten? My bad.
Yeah, we moved on to Ohio State, Big Ten.
Oh,
Indiana.
sorry, I blanked. Yeah, Ohio State. Done.
All right, guys, we're running out of time here. Let's go to the ACC. And again, it is Clemson at negative 835. Next is Miami of Florida at 700. The one team that I have some interest in is North Carolina. Sam Howell, good coach Mac Brown, probably the best quarterback in the ACC. Could they get hot and somehow? I think Aaron Burke's going to be our fan of the game always. Could North Carolina actually compete with Clemson?
So we need to address the elephant in the room. If a Power 5 conference has a team that's minus 835 to win the championship, it's not a Power 5 conference. It's just Clemson and the 12 dwarfs or whatever the fairy tales were, nursery rhyme. This is just a walkthrough and might as well be Gonzaga in basketball. Like, it's just, I wonder what Gonzaga's odds are to win the whatever conference their West Coast Conference or WAC or whatever it is now. But to answer the question, I mean, so yeah, scratch the favorites off for me. Yeah, I think I like North Carolina, Mac Brown. NC State at plus 800.
They return a lot of guys, right?
Yeah, I like them. But how in the hell is Florida State plus 3,300? Like, what's happened down in Tallahassee?
No idea.
The wheels have fallen off, and they've probably pulled a Tennessee.
I'm not sure Florida State and Tennessee haven't been through the same thing. Tennessee's a bit longer, but Florida State's runs reaching double-digit years. So,
and they met in 1998 for the championship. Florida State's actually had a peak when we just haven't.
Yep. Rod, you got anybody in the ACC?
You know, I'm not a big fan of Miami when it comes to coaching, but, you know, De'Aaron King is a proven guy at quarterback. They've got a lot of talent. I think one thing about Miami is when they get smacked in the face, they seem to fold. It's not much of a home field advantage because it's 80 degrees. And there's, as Vince Vaughn said in Swingers, beautiful babies all over the sidelines and in the stands. North Carolina, I think, lost too much. Sam Howell, to me, is a bit overrated. When you lose Javonte Williams and Michael Carter, those guys are unbelievable.
Does Miami opening up with Alabama, does that change your opinion any? Because they're going to get smacked early.
Yeah, they're going to get beat up. No. I mean, they're going to get smoked, but it's a good thing in that sense because you're never going to play for the rest of the year. You're not going to play anyone that good. But, yeah, it's Clemson and, as Robbie said, the 38 Dwarves or whatever. People say Miami. People say, what was the other team that, like, is getting some love? NC State returns a lot, but North Carolina. Sorry, I don't see it.
Maybe y'all remember better than me. Didn't Georgia Tech get to a bowl game? Was this the first year post Paul Johnson triple option, or was this the second? I think that coach is doing a really good job.
I think it's the second, Robbie, and yes, he is doing a really good job. And
to change that offense that drastically. So if you want to throw $25 on Georgia Tech plus 6,600, I wouldn't fault you.
And I'll throw something else out there, and I've did it probably 20 times in my life. Georgia Tech is a fun place to go see a game. I've drove down there. If Tennessee'd be on the road and watch Georgia Tech and Miami, I've drove down there and watched Georgia Tech and North Carolina. It's a fun little destination, and probably get tickets for $15 or $20 if it's the right game too.
Oh man, it was Florida State's heyday, and Georgia Tech had a running quarterback. I can't remember. Georgia Tech ended up upsetting them though. It was
Joe
one of the
Reynolds.
best. Yes, it was one of the best games. Like that atmosphere was amazing because you're right on top of the field there.
Absolutely, I was there one year. UTC led Georgia Tech in the fourth quarter, and I was there, and it was off the hook. But I think, Robbie, I think you summed that one up. It's Clemson in the seven drawers. I mean, it's bad, and to me, it's programs that's regressed. We're talking about Georgia Tech, once proud program. North Carolina State, once proud program. Florida State, Miami, once elite programs that are now just, I mean, the SEC has much better competition than the ACC, even with Alabama in it.
Oh, I mean, they put Florida State and Miami in different divisions for that matchup, and they have both just folded. And it's just a disappointment because that game was national all the time. Like, it was just one of the great rivalries.
Well, and I also think, despite popular opinion, I think Alabama's won more national championships than they have SEC championships over this run, because they've won at least two when they were the SEC champion.
Don't get Raj started.
I mean, if you're going to lose early.
I mean, all right,
or lose often. That's what Tennessee does. They just lose often.
Yeah, we're going to get past that one of these days. All right, last stop. SEC. Alabama is a negative 143, and our Georgia team I love. And I even told Robbie I'm picking Georgia. I'm going to have money on Georgia, and I really think this is JT Daniels' team. I think it's cleared for him at plus 275. Texas A&M at plus 900, a team that's loaded, but they lose Kelvin Mond. LSU is a team searching for an identity at 1,100. Florida replaces Florida. There is Florida. It's name. I mean, they lost Trask, Tony, Pitts. I mean, that team is just starting over. Auburn at 1,800, Missouri at 2,000, Ole Miss at 2,500, Kentucky at 5,000. And the Tennessee Volunteers. How Tennessee is in front of Arkansas, we'll have to have another conversation about.
That's not right.
Recognition at 8,000. I say Georgia. What do you got, Robbie?
So Georgia's a logical pick because they're in the East and they're going to win the East and they're going to play in the championship game. You win the SEC championship game, you're in the playoffs. That's simple as that. If there's a year that Saban goes down, or another year with Saban, he doesn't win every year. He wins most years. But I like A&M at plus 900.
I do too.
Saban's losing his starting quarterback. How many first-round picks do Alabama have? I know we just did this.
6.
But it's like 6. There has to be a step back when you lose 6 first-round picks. Jimbo needs a breakthrough. I know he lost Kellen Mond, but he's a great quarterback developer. I agree. I think Florida's got name recognition. They've got a coach that doesn't really want to be there. He's kind of floating in the where am I going to be, I think, atmosphere. And then I think that's Georgia's only competition in the East. There's nobody else. So I think Georgia skates through. Georgia will be the East winner. So that's not a bad pick. Just picking Georgia and plus 250, whoever they play, they beat. I'll go with at this point. I'd put money on A&M plus 900.
All right, Raj, as the outside, seems to have a good feel for the SEC, even though they drive you crazy sometimes. Give me your.
They don't drive me. Some of the fans drive me crazy in their myopia and lack of perspective. But the SEC plays awesome football. I've watched JT Daniels since he was in high school. He was the Gatorade National Player of the Year. At USC, the OL wasn't that great, but I mean, that dude holds on to the ball for so long. To think he's the savior, and no offense, the SEC is not exactly loaded with great quarterbacks over the last like 10 years. You know, I know you got Burrows, who came from Ohio, but you know, there's just so
Tim
much talent at
Tebow.
other positions. Oh yeah, him. Great guy. I mean, phenomenal philanthropist. Love
You
him
got
for
those
that.
3 guys from Alabama that's probably going to start in the NFL outside of that. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many are going to be great. And one of them, the newest guy, Bryce Young, is from Los Angeles. But, you know, they returned 3 dudes up front. Eric Gilbert announced he's transferring to Georgia today from LSU. And so that'll be big. There's something about Georgia where they don't seem to be able to lock it up. Maybe because their coach's first name is Kirby. I don't know. That, or, you know, he's Saban kind of groomed him, and he's like Saban negative 1.0. One team I'm looking at is LSU. They seem to be, you know, 1 year on, 1 year off. They return a ton of talent. On defense, they have amazing corners. I think Jabril Cox is coming back. Is that right? You know, obviously they're not stoked at quarterback. That's a Southern California adjective. The Lakers are down 9. Oh, son of a goat.
I'm just looking at that.
There's just a lot of talent on LSU year in and year out. And last year, you know, I think it was just very difficult going from the prototypical leader of a team and an offense to like 5 dudes that have never ever taken a snap. So I think they're going to be much better this year, personally. And they've got beasts, dude. I mean, Alabama, LSU, Georgia. Those 3 teams have dudes that they don't look like any other dudes in the world or in college football, aside from maybe Clemson. Although most of Clemson's great players are from the South, like Deep South. So, long story short, Coach O's my guy. Not the greatest coach in the world, but
Yeah.
a lot of talent. A lot of talent there.
All right. So, guys, it's been an incredible night. We went 1 hour and 45 minutes. Of course, I'm going to say 1 hour and 35 minutes because we started about 5 minutes late. But I love this show, man, and we'd be remiss if we didn't shout out to everybody as we approach 40,000 visits in the last 28 days.
Surely one of those 40,000 people has enough money to send Raj a clock, and so we can get him on here on time.
That would be nice.
I'm on West
Super
Coast time,
Station,
bro.
man.
I was like, oh yeah, wait, what? What's happening?
But we've had 4,000 people comment, like a video, something. You think about that. A city. I work in Dunlap. It's more people have commented on one of our videos or posts in the last 28 days than live in that city. Next Thursday night at 7:00, I have a personal goal or someone I wanted to have on this show. Coach Paul Benefield from the Fife, Alabama program. Coach Benefield is, guys, I'll give you the exact numbers next Thursday. I believe he's 302-52. 5 state championships, 3 in a row across 3 divisions. And what makes him special to me is I was with him when I started broadcasting, and we lost a quarterfinal game to a very loaded Colbert County team that ended up having Steve Stanley start at quarterback, that ended up at Alabama as a starting outside linebacker. And, I mean, it was a painful game. I walked down on the field with a mic, and I expected him to give me this. And Coach, knowing that I was there and needed to get an interview, waved me over and talked to me 15 minutes with tears in his eyes. And he said that game changed his career. And since then, he's won about 300 football games. So
sounds like Saban and Belichick, like just great dudes as coaches and friendly to the media.
When he won 300, Raj, his video, he's a huge Brett Favre fan, and Brett Favre sent him a congratulations. And Pete, great guy.
If you think about high school, that's 10 wins, which is a lot for high school, considering there usually aren't 10 opponents for 30 years. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
living legend right there. That's just absolutely insane.
He's
Much
a great
respect.
guy. Also, we'll be back next week. I don't think anybody's going to be out for their anniversary. We're waiting on Rogers to show up. So
I have a loser friend, Barry, who usually comments on the show. He's out. Just spent $240 on his anniversary dinner tonight. What a sucker!
yes. If you were a member of the 3R cast, we could get you out cheaper than 240.
Yeah.
But we've got a couple other segments to do here quickly before we leave. Everybody got their nuts pulled out, ready to roll. I believe we are officially 7-1, Raj. Robbie, you are following.
I think I'm 7-2. I cheated last week. I took the under and I took Trevor Bauer, so it wasn't a parlay. So
I've not been so hot.
Robbie, I think you're 4-3. So, where are we going today, guys? You want me to go first, guys? Because I got one I feel really good about.
Yeah.
So tomorrow night, the Atlanta Hawks go to. I don't know where he just went, but
He's going to Atlanta.
maybe he leaves 5 minutes early and comes 5 minutes late. The Atlanta Hawks play. There he is. At the World's Greatest Arena tomorrow night in a game 6. I'm going to catch a 1.5 with the Hawks to eliminate the Knicks. I'm going the Hawks close out their series 4-2 and bring it home to Atlanta to play the Milwaukee Bucks. So that's my pick. Go Hawks. Rob, you got some room to make up here. Let's see what you got.
I know. I've been very disappointed in myself here in the early stages.
Asking for money that said he followed your pick.
It's because you're not putting money on it. If you put money on it, then it'll have a different sort
All
of
right.
system.
All right. I will bet my own money. I
have money on the Hawks already tomorrow night.
All right. So as we speak, I'll do it right now while we talk. Kyle Larson has been very hot in NASCAR. And so you could take him to win if you want to get cocky. I like him for the top 3. So they're racing this weekend. I think we won last weekend, start to finish. He's been top 3. So I'm making my bet right now. I'll put $100 of my own money on Larson for the top 3 in real time. I would give you my confirmation number, but I don't trust our viewers.
I don't trust the cats.
So all right, here we go. $100 right now to win $325. Triple your money. Also invest in GameStop. Not financial advice.
So I almost think I should get an extra bet your nuts because of my Helio Castroneves pick.
Go for it. I love Helio.
So, Raj, what do you got, buddy?
This is another personal one. I always look forward to when the Dodgers come to Atlanta. I have a friend that works with the Dodgers. He reached out to Atlanta ticket office. I'm not that cool. Our seats are not. Actually, one year they were above the dugout. Let me just say Manny Machado is a dirtbag. But this year we are going Friday and Saturday night.
Nice.
We used to go to the Sunday game
this
as well.
Weekend?
This weekend. And then, few friends are coming down as well Saturday. I don't like the pitching matchups per se, but I like the Dodgers on Friday and Saturday night. Now on Sunday they have Bauer going. However, every year we used to go to the Sunday game and they know they're playing LA in summer and it would be like 188 degrees and humid and the game would tip off at 12 or 1 or tip off. First pitch would be. And that's the same thing this year. And more importantly, we are bringing our 6-year-old to his first baseball games ever.
Nice.
So we got good seats. We're right past the dugout down the first base line. Just very excited, not only because it's baseball and I love baseball, but it's also been 2.5 years since I've been to a game. Last game I went to actually was Game 5 of the World Series. So my life is hard, obviously, but I'm just excited, man. We're staying right there at the Omni. The battery's right there. You know, Atlanta did this really well, and it'll be a fun weekend. So very excited. But my bet is 2 out of 3 Dodgers. That's it.
2 out of
Dodgers
3.
win the series.
Hey,
Wait till we get media passes. Then we can just go for free.
That would be sweet.
I'm going. Speaking of baseball weekends, I'm going to Knoxville this weekend for the college baseball tournament.
What are they? The number 3 seed nationally?
Yeah.
Woo-wee. That's a loaded team.
I was about to add, I have tickets for Saturday in the Dodgers and the Braves.
Oh, really?
The Dodgers and the Braves to go to Knoxville. I haven't made up my mind yet. So
well,
I may see one of you too. But yeah, I'm really excited about the college baseball. We'll be sure to talk about it next week. But yeah, I'm really
real quick. I didn't mean to interrupt, but this is a Chattanooga lookout. No pun intended, but looking out for Chattanooga. Hunter Green, the pitcher for Chattanooga, is considered by many to be the best prospect in baseball. He is currently in Chattanooga. If you're around this area, anywhere near, go watch this dude throw. He is ridiculous. And
I've been
here long.
To get to the games with him. Yeah, he's a stud.
Unbelievable.
Also they have Nick Loddo, Loldo, who's actually ranked in the top 5 of pitcher. They got 2 future major league all-stars.
Yeah, they're good.
They're
been a good year.
Cincinnati good. So, all right, guys.
Good times.
Final words and give us. I'll go first. I'm gonna take a minute to rant. I set my confirmation to get my seats installed in the Neyland Stadium. My friend Howie, who owns my season tickets in Atlanta, we talked about what games we're going to. I think I'm gonna be going to the Thursday night Patriots Falcons game. I try to go about half of them. I usually let Tennessee's season to get halfway over. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm not saying that because I'm anything special. I'm not saying I'm going to be at a Braves game this weekend. I'm saying it because it is so nice to start to breach those things that I've been afraid of doing for the last 18 months or so. I did not go to the Tennessee game last year for the first time since 1979. I am vaccinated. I still wear my mask in public and probably will wear them to the games.
Good for you.
It is an amazing feeling to start filling out a seat request and all that stuff. So thank God we're headed back to normal a little bit. Next.
Shout out to Aaron Burt for watching us tonight. I told you to give him a shout out. And we did not discuss this. My final thoughts echo Randall's. Getting back this weekend, I wore my mask in grocery stores and gas stations and those things I stopped by. Other than that, I didn't have to wear it. I didn't feel the need to wear it. We are on the other end of this thing. Please get the vaccine. I'm ready to be back at sporting events. I'm ready to be tailgating. I'm ready to be in the stadiums. I'm ready to enjoy it. I'm ready to watch the kids enjoy it. I'm ready to watch the athletes enjoy it. Like it's a job to them. I know it is, but it shouldn't feel like a job. It should be entertainment. They have a great skill set. And hell, I'm tired of wearing it in court. So let's all do our part and then gosh, the lights is so close to the end of the tunnel, and we're about ready for full stadiums, full events. It's exciting, and for the first time in a year and a half, roughly that, I feel good about where we're headed, and we can all be hopefully in a studio or a conference room or something together and talking in person pretty soon.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something we've got planned, and some guests coming up, some stuff that we've got on the burner, and I got a question today whether this was permanent. I was like, yeah, as far as I know, we're going to be here for the next years. So stay
On
with
that
us.
note, as I close, I just talked to a friend of mine in San Francisco, and there are still significant restrictions in place, mainly for children, because we really don't know how they react to certain things. Here we walk around and everyone walks around with impunity. That's great. Who knows what's going to happen? I'm not saying live in fear, but it's not 2017 again, per se. Just wash your hands, act with precaution, wear a mask if you're in big crowds, certain places indoors, try to stay away. Just do it for all of us. Finally, Anthony Davis did not play again tonight. I think it's like his 30th injury ever. LA got their ring last year. I don't think they'll see it again because he's far too injury prone. LeBron can only do so much. They're keen on him. They have no one to guard Booker, who's already got 18 points in the first quarter. It's they had a 72-day off season. So not making excuses, but I assure you the Lakers will not win it all. And even if they got to the finals, Brooklyn would be pretty darn tough. So, watch out for Phoenix and the Clippers. That's my opinion. And
Phoenix is -11 real time right now.
Yeah, they're just crushing the Lakers, and they're going to.
All right, guys. This was a phenomenal show. Ran a little long, but it was a lot of fun. And again, next week we have our special interview. Tomorrow night, I have a one-off show, an album review show with a friend of mine who are reviewing classic 80s metal albums. So get a chance, tune us in. Just something for fun. It's not like I'm putting my work into it like I do here, but yeah, we're having fun tonight. And of course, support yourself, your family. Be careful out there, but do enjoy getting out. And like Rod said, use common sense, but enjoy your time.
And subscribe and like and
Yeah.
all the social media stuff.
Yeah, subscribe, like. We got a Facebook, YouTube, River City Media, Twitter, River City Media 3. So,
And also, if whoever's watching, if y'all want us to talk about anything, let us know. Like, it can be ranked college stadiums we've been to, want to go to, or worst fan bases that we've been around, or stuff
Yep.
like that. We'll talk about anything.
Yep. Just send us.
That's for sure.
Anytime y'all send something, I go, well, that's a great topic. And just because you're thinking it, if you're out there listening to us, there's probably other people want to hear the same thing.
That top all-time NFL draft thing was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I had not thought about that. I did my research. It was very well done, Randall. The host with the most.
Hey, I
You
think
did all that research and still ended up with the worst team.
Yeah, because Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and Wilt Chamberlain, that's a terrible team.
Yeah. Well,
We need to put a poll on the website and let you see.
We did it. Do we have poll?
Hey,
Do we have poll potential?
Yeah, we do.
So I think so.
The other thing that, and this will be my last word, is stay with us, because the NFL fantasy football draft, even though we're probably going to be very restricted to what we broadcast, I will be posting on YouTube. We're not FCC controlled as long as we stay within line. We will probably have some draft day picks going up, and if you've not been to our NFL draft, it's special. That's all I can say.
Hey, I'll say
It
this.
is special.
I'll say this. I am not me personally, but my wife is raising money for the Kidney Foundation for Dare to Dance. I will be auctioning off my 3rd round draft pick, so the highest bidder can make the pick for me.
That's not fair, dude, because usually you pick like Michael Vick in that round, so
That might be an
So you-
improvement, Robbie.
Yeah.
it'll be a huge improvement, and plus it'll generate income. So
I would like
Hey.
to.
Well, I have to get approval from the commissioner, who we don't know who it is yet, and we'll see how that works out.
I'd like to auction my whole draft off, but only if
And-
Ron got criminal to the finals last year, you can do anything.
I'll say this though, real quick. I've said it before. I've been in thousands of fantasy leagues, not literally, maybe hundreds. This is my favorite of all time because everyone has a good time. They have the appropriate amount of emphasis on it. No one really, throws in the towel. It's great fun. That's what my mom would say.
It's the only league you're punished for being sober during the draft.
That and a tattoo if you lose. You get oh no, you have to take the GRE or the SAT depending on where you end up. I wouldn't know, but it's an awesome league. There's no doubt about it. So I think we'll have to have like a 30-minute delay before we broadcast, but
Might
I
be
guess
the
we shall
next
see.
day. I might have to record and then edit later. I don't know if I can go live because the F-bombs go like wine at Shakespeare's day. So, all right, guys, been a great show. Thank you, everybody that watches, listening. Bert, you're a top fan.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, everyone, for watching.